everyone, and welcome to another edition of From the Ground Up. I'm Karol Weyman, your host today, and I am lucky enough to sit down with our friend Chris at Sherwin-Williams H&C, and we're going to talk about the critical role surface preparation plays in outdoor concrete projects. To start off, thank you so much for being here, Chris, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Carol. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. So my name is Chris, for short, but Christian Loaiza, full name there. And I have been with Sherwin-Williams now going on 20 years. I actually hit the 20-year mark back in February, so that's kind of a big deal. I've worked in multiple roles, starting out as a part-time delivery driver back in college. And from there, sales associate, third key, assistant manager, store manager, outside sales rep. And then in 2023, that's when I think really I took a big step, at least for me, in what I wanted to do. And that was I backfilled for Lonnie Rizal as the H&C rep, covering Florida and, well, part of Florida and the Caribbean. So that's a little bit about me and I guess my career with Sherwin.
Wow, that's really impressive. I mean, that's a long time to be with that says a lot about Sherwin-Williams, but it also says a lot about you. It's just kind of watching a company grow, and I bet you have a lot of stories to tell about just the successes and where Sherwin-Williams has come from since the beginning of your tenure. So thank you again for being here. We're just going to dig in and, how important is surface preparation when it comes to the long-term performance of outdoor concrete coatings?
Well, surface preparation is extremely important. And, one thing that, and I have a little note here that I want to make sure that I touch on is the fact that something that was said to me way back when, and this is, back when I was in the store as part of like, I guess, trainings and things that we do and the like. Someone mentioned to me that we're only as good as what we're going over, right? And that really kind of stuck with me in the fact that, if we have a surface and it's dirty or contaminated, I mean, we can't expect to have great results, right? And that is regardless of the product and how, it's stated to have the best adhesion possible or how expensive a product might be. If we're going over a surface that's not properly prepared, we just simply can't expect good results, right? Or long-term results and durability, things that we're after in doing these types of projects. So yeah, surface preparation is definitely key and one that we can address with our line of H&C ConcreteReady products.
Yeah, that's great. And, can you give us an overview of Sherwin-Williams H&C and where concrete-ready surface preparation products fit into your overall offerings for all contractors?
Right. So as far as the overview, H&C ConcreteReady products really play a very essential part. They are in the stores on the shelves, and while they only host or maybe cover a small section of the store, it's kind of one that's not necessarily talked about often, but obviously plays a very important role. So H&C does have a lot of products regarding different coatings and stains and clears and water repellents and things and the like, but really sometimes we overlook these prep products. So within our ConcreteReady line of products, we have first and foremost our cleaner degreaser. So our cleaner degreaser is a concentrated cleaner degreaser, really a premium concentrated cleaner degreaser. So a half gallon typically is mixed at a 3-to-1 for general cleaning. And what you're getting there is something that's going to help to effectively remove, say, stains from transmission fluid, brake fluid, motor oil, grease from the barbecue, etc. And then there's also contaminants that are maybe less common or ones that we don't think about because we don't see them on the surface. So those would probably be more along the lines of like tanning oils and sunscreen, maybe certain silicones. That's where our cleaner degreaser really plays a big part in trying to effectively remove those contaminants because as you know, if they're present, of course, that's going to affect the adhesion or the long-term durability of that product or system that's being applied. Secondly, I'd like to touch note on our H&C etching solution. Now, H&C etching solution is great for new or existing concrete slabs. It is important to note that we don't recommend you use etching solution on coated surfaces because in order for the etching solution to work as intended, it really has to come into contact with that bare concrete surface. That's what's going to generate a chemical reaction, and as such, it's going to, actually create a profile, or it helps to open up maybe concrete floors that were troweled smooth. So, think for instance a garage floor, typically power troweled or troweled smooth. In that scenario, etching solution is a great product to help to open up that floor chemically in order to prepare it for a system or a coating clear to go over top, right? And then one other product that I seem to find that maybe is a little underutilized that would probably be, you know, uh, used more often if customers really understood it would be H&C ConcreteReady Quick Patch and Repair. Now, this product works really well for, maybe filling in small voids or divots in the concrete floor, along with primarily what I like to recommend it for is low spots or bird baths found throughout driveways, pool decks, walkways, you name it, right? Best of all, because of its formulation, it's a cementitious quick patch material. Customers can mix up what they need on site, mix up what you're going to use within 5 minutes, apply it to the surface, let it cure for about 30 minutes, and then you can top coat over it. No issues.
That's great. Those are great products. I do have a side question on the degreaser. So if,
Sure.
some of the things that you can't see, will they eventually show up then? Or, how do you try to?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. So the ones that we can't see are the ones that we usually see after we start to apply our coating to the surface, right?
Okay.
Whether that's a solid color stain or a clear, what tends to happen, Carol, is you get maybe like fish-eyeing or separation on the surface where these contaminants are present. So that's a great question. And there obviously, if we're seeing that, it's best to stop, rolling out your material, clean it up as soon as possible. In other words, remove the paint that or the clear that's been applied to the surface and try to address that issue right there and then. If you allow the coating to dry, you could come back and sand it off and then I guess address the issue of the contaminant that might be present. But given the fact that we try to remove these beforehand, it generally makes for more efficient application of whatever system we're applying.
Yeah, that's great to know. Thank you for the clarification.
Of course.
So what are some of the most common mistakes or challenges you see contractors run into when preparing their concrete surfaces for the outdoors?
Carol, this is one that is probably going to keep me doing what I'm doing, and that is improper floor preparation, right? Which is kind of what this podcast is all about. I can't tell you the amount of times I have customers, or I guess you can say whether customers or employees alike, they call me with a complaint and they say, "Hey, I sent you over some pictures. Can you take a look at them?" And when I do, one of the first questions that I like to ask is, tell me about the preparation that was done or conducted, and how did the customer prepare the surface? And 9 times out of 10, the response is, "Well, they pressure washed." And then I say, "Okay, and?" Right? So it's baffling to me that customers don't understand that water and pressure alone are not effective in properly preparing a concrete surface, right? Now you're going to have some customers that say, "Oh, well, I use bleach," right? And while bleach does help, to some extent, and that is if you have mold or mildew or some sort of fungus growth on the surface, that's when you want to utilize bleach. But bleach isn't a degreaser, right? And so we're back to the fact that when we're looking at these surfaces, think about what's on the bottom of our feet, right? A lot of dirt and grime and contaminants, and we're constantly walking on these surfaces. Well, those contaminants are then embedded into the coating, right? If it's something that's been previously painted, or if it's something that hasn't been coated, it makes it easier for it to obviously penetrate that surface. And we just don't think that using a cleaner degreaser is essential in preparing that surface. So for me, it's getting the customer to realize that using a cleaner degreaser as opposed to just water or maybe a bleach solution would provide better results and minimize headaches.
So I have a follow-up question to that too. So the bleach that you put on there, do you also, I mean, should you degrease after that as well? Because that is also a substance that could come through potentially.
So with bleach, we do recommend, or at least I recommend typically that, once again, if we've got mold, mildew, or fungus, we're going to spot treat those areas with a bleach solution. But
Okay.
outside of that, I don't really think it's necessary to use throughout the entire surface. I think that's where I do more of the emphasis of, hey, instead of using a bleach solution and spreading it all over the surface, use this cleaner degreaser from H&C, as it's going to, provide better results in terms of removing those contaminants. Once again, the ones that we can see and the ones that we can't see.
Right. That's a great point. And so how do concrete ready products help streamline surface prep while still ensuring a strong, long-lasting bond?
So they streamline surface prep in the fact that they are formulated, right, for these applications. So if we're talking specifically exterior horizontal concrete surfaces, which is where the majority of H&C products are applied, they've been researched and developed and tested for these specific applications, and they've been tested with our coatings as well. Now, obviously I'm here because I represent H&C, but that's not to say that if a customer has a preference to use somebody else's system or top coat over top, our products are going to work just fine in that scenario as well. So they don't discriminate if using competitor products, I would say.
Right. It's just starting with the right product, right? For you guys. So,
Correct.
yeah. Well, good.
Right.
So I know that outdoor environments can be unpredictable with heat, moisture, existing coatings. So how do these products perform across different environments and job site conditions?
So
Right.
just in general, let's talk about heat and moisture, right? So I guess I'd probably lean in more on the conversation to talk about heat. Because I'm in Florida, I cover the Caribbean, I still cover Florida. For me, heat is a concern. Now, not to the same degree or importance if you were to use our stains and clears, right? But definitely it plays a part, and that's because we have elevated surface temperatures. Elevated surface temperatures are going to cause the solvent to evaporate faster. And by solvent in this instance, we're referring to water. So the water that's used to dilute these products is going to evaporate faster due to the higher surface temperature. So what's recommended there is to not allow the solution to dry on the surface, because then it kind of loses its effectiveness. If you're noticing that you're having to deal with that kind of situation, try to maintain the surface wet with the solution that you're using, or look for a better time of day to, I guess, do your preparation, your surface preparations, whether that's early morning or maybe later in the afternoon when we know surface temperatures aren't going to be rising, right? So that would be my recommendation there. As far as existing coatings, once again, these products have been formulated to work with either new or existing systems, right? So new as in we don't have anything applied to the surface, or existing, it's been coated multiple times. There's not going to be any sort of concern for these products in terms of causing further issues down the road when applying them and using them. I will say that they're generally simple to use, and every product that we're talking about today has a product data sheet. Not only that, but each customer can either contact their servicing store or their sales rep if they have any further questions on these products while using them.
Yeah, and customer service is so great, and to be able to provide that information is wonderful. And I know that Sherwin-Williams really prides themselves in that part of it, because
Correct.
it isn't done until it's done. So, and a lot of times there's follow-up questions. So it's great that you guys are available for that. So let's talk about some real world examples where you have using concrete ready products made a noticeable difference in efficiency or final results.
Correct. So I can definitely pinpoint one example, and that was recent. That was by recent, I mean, late of last year, where I was conducting an internal product validation utilizing our Heavy Shield Plus on a driveway that was bare and weathered, and then also a carport that was previously coated that had multiple failures with various systems applied to it. So there, I actually used our H&C concentrated cleaner degreaser, and I utilized it in the same fashion that are stated per the instructions that are on the label, right? And that is a 3-to-1 dilution. So 3 parts water to 1 part cleaner, and that was used in conjunction while pressure washing. So I just simply, filled up my little pump up bug sprayer with my 3-to-1 solution of the H&C ConcreteReady cleaner degreaser, applied it to the entire surface, and then let it sit for a few minutes before coming back and pressure washing it off. Now, there were areas, remember, I told you that there was a carport that had multiple systems applied to it. And there were obviously areas where we had either the coating had worn off or delaminated for various reasons. Stains, oil stains were prevalent on the surface. So in that scenario, I did use the solution straight, or the product, I should say, straight without dilution, along with using a nylon deck brush to really agitate and work that solution to try to remove as much of the contaminants that were present due to oil stain being present. So those are two scenarios where obviously the product was used based on what I felt would work best for for my particular project. With that being said, the 3-to-1 recommendation that we give on the label is just that. It's a recommendation. So depending on your project and your project needs, you might find that a 3-to-1 is not enough. So maybe, we decrease the dilution to a 2-to-1. We do recommend that customers test these dilutions out first in small areas to see if they're getting good results with it before proceeding and applying it to the entire surface. So that's one scenario where I did use our, H&C concentrated cleaner degreaser. And then there was another job, and this was a little bit more recent, where I needed to fill in a few spots in my driveway. And I used our H&C quick patch and repair, small voids or divots that just simply needed to be filled so that I could top coat over top.
That's great. And so, I know you say it's a recommendation. And so if someone is really questioning anything about like how much they should be using, you guys have people available. They can call, they can look at the information sheet. So I think, when in doubt, call if they're not secure in feeling what they should be doing on that, or, it depends on their level of expertise, but you guys are there to help.
And that's correct. Yeah. So I'm glad you touched on that again. We pride ourselves in customer service, right? That's kind of something that sets us apart from our competitors. And we always want to make sure that we're there to help customers, from the start of their project or even before they start, to after they complete their project and anything in between, right? Or if they have any issues after the fact, we are always there to respond and to help. Because at the end of the day, if our customers aren't, if they're not completing their projects, if they're having to get stuck on projects, they're not able to move on to new projects or work on new quotes, or, at the end of the day, maybe it's not just about work, maybe it's about quality of life and spending more time with their family. So we definitely want to make sure that we can provide that assistance when needed. So contact your local store or your servicing rep.
Yeah, that's great to know. So for contractors looking to grow their business, how does getting surface prep right impact things like callbacks, reputation, and long-term profitability?
So I think you kind of already answered the question and how you asked it, and that is that improper surface prep is going to increase our chances of failures, right? And so if we do our due diligence in using the correct products, in this instance, right, we're highlighting the products from H&C, specifically those from ConcreteReady. We are providing the contractor with the right tools, the right products to get the best results. That's going to yield durability, right? So the coating or the clear or the system that they're applying to that surface is going to last longer, and that's going to speak to their reputation, right? And then in terms of using the products, well, if we're not having to go back to fix something, once again, I kind of already said this, but we can focus on either doing more jobs, right, that same week, as opposed to not completing, if we had two on the calendar, but because of the fact that we got a call back for one, well, that one other job got pushed then to the following week, and we're stuck now fixing this one. Or use the correct products, right? Minimize any downtime or failures and be able to complete more work, which obviously means more money, or maybe look towards growing and expanding your business, whether that means more bids. And like I said, at the end of the day, our customers also have families. Maybe it's about spending more time with their families. So to them, it could be a combination of all. But once again, I think it's just important to kind of hit home the fact that these products help us almost guarantee results, right? And so if they look at it from that perspective, they're going to be more profitable. They're going to be able to do more. And yes, there's a cost, right? There's a cost associated with these products. But what I can tell you, and this is once again just kind of tapping into the 20 years of experience, 6 of which were out in the field as a sales representative. Once the customer, and by customer I mean the contractor, understands that they can work the price of these products into their quote or bid, it's not affecting their bottom line, and they're reassuring the customer that they're going to get a better job. So it's that simple.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So for contractors who are still using traditional prep methods, what would you say to help them make the switch to newer solutions like ConcreteReady?
Yeah, so Karol, seeing is believing, right? And so I think in once again, when I transitioned over to the agency rep in 2023, what I noticed was, we do a lot in terms of training, and our trainings could be just maybe reading product data sheet or something to that effect. But really, when you put the product in the customer's hand and they're able to see the difference on the job site, or when I'm doing my trainings with employees, I would have a sample board, a hardy backer board with a cementitious topping or an overlay system over top. I'd paint it with 2 coats of Heavy Shield or Heavy Shield Plus. And then what I would do is I would intentionally take mineral oil with a rag and put it throughout the entire board. I would then take dirt and kind of rub dirt over top. And then I would do 2 methods of preparation, right? So on one side, we've got water and bleach, right? Because that's what most customers use out in the field. And on the other hand, we've got our H&C concentrated cleaner degreaser with water. So diluted either 2 to 1, 3 to 1, whatever I feel is going to give or provide the best results. I take that same, I take half the board and I wipe it down with the water and bleach solution. I do the same on the other side with our H&C cleaner degreaser. And what customers are then able to see, even though we're not using, a pressure washer, they're able to see that the side with water and bleach, we're able to remove some of the dirt. But when you go back and you touch the surface, it feels slick. It feels oily, right? And that's because bleach and water don't remove oils. On the other side, it definitely has a much cleaner appearance, for starters. But more importantly, when you go to touch that surface, it doesn't feel slick. It doesn't feel oily. And in doing so, they're able to notice like, wow, this actually feels clean. And they know that having that oil present is going to affect adhesion. So once again, seeing is believing. I'm a firm believer of that, and that's what really kind of helps to maybe open up their mind. It's not like you're going to get them to immediately change what they're doing, but at least open up their mind and consider maybe changing some of their prep methods.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, the visual of that, I think, it depending on, there's no way you can say that isn't a better method, right? So when you look at it, it really is just putting it into your cost analysis and having to go back or having to, it's just saving a lot of like headaches in the long run. So yeah, thank you for that, Chris. I appreciate that. So if contractors want to learn more about ConcreteReady, where should they go?
Right. So
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend that they go and check out HC Concrete, and that's all together, one word, hcconcrete.com. On there, on the top left side, they can click on products, and then that'll pull down a drop down menu, which will allow them to see prep products and additives. click on the tab, and it'll take them to all the concrete ready products that are available from H&C. They can click on each one individually, and then let's just say, for example, here we're talking about H&C etching solution. When they click on H&C etching solution, there's going to be a series of different categories. They can click on downloads. What is it? Downloads, features and benefits, and then there's something else which I can't remember right now, but it just helps. Oh, and recommended uses. That was the other one.
Oh,
Sorry.
good. Okay.
So
That's okay.
yeah, so recommended uses, features and benefits, and downloads. Now under downloads, that's where they can, hover over and then click the product data sheet, which will give them everything they need to know about how to use that product, best practices with it, etc. So that would be my recommendation if they're just looking to better understand these products. The other thing is, once again, and I'm going to say it, contact your local Sherwin-Williams or your sales representative, right? Your Sherwin-Williams sales representative. We are here to help. We're here to help answer questions you might have and maybe, provide a different perspective that you won't necessarily get from, just reading a product data sheet.
Chris, this is great information. I appreciate you sharing all of this with us today. Another way to find Sherwin-Williams, H&C, and Concrete Ready is to go to the directory on outdoorcoffeeshop.com, and you can get to their website. You can hear, you can see a lot of the product information that Chris has been talking about. But certainly I know that they're here to help. So, Chris, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you,
And
Karol.
yeah, absolutely. So thanks again for joining us, everybody. And, see you next time on From the Ground Up.